So essentially, I went through, looking back at the main, enforcement cases over the last 6 months or so. I went through the very classic, horizontal mergers in very, traditional sectors, and as I said, it's very and still very important to us to make sure that we have competition in these traditional markets, even if the debate is a lot about tech these days, in order to preserve the competitiveness of the business customers and to preserve the welfare of consumers in Europe. So I went through a number of cases, and notably the important judgment on ThyssenKrupp that gave a lot of reassurance about our capacity to deal with mergers in very concentrated markets. That was one takeaway. We also went through the non-horizontal mergers, and I made an aside on the Android judgment, which is about antitrust, but which gives a lot of takeaways more generally about how to look at digital markets, how to articulate market definitions with the notion of the ecosystem, how these markets are interconnected. And this is very relevant also in merger control, where we look indeed at non-horizontal mergers, mainly in tech markets. But obviously the big non-horizontal merger of the day was about Illumina. Grell, I think everyone knows that case by now, but the key point that we wanted to make is that indeed it is an illustration not only of the necessity to use Article 22, and we were right to make this reform, to make sure that we can look at that type of cases where the target has no turnover, but still has a very strong competitive potential, because it is coming to with a product that may be a game changer. And in that case, obviously, we wanted to preserve the innovation race that is taking place between Grail and its competitors, and there are several of them at very seriously developed and racing with Grail, and that's why we blocked the merger, to preserve that competition and that innovation on the market. And I think the key takeaway from all of this was that we have a principled framework which allows us to use new types of evidence, as we did in Android, to use new tools to either demonstrate that there might be competition concerns, even if it's new and tested, or that there are no competition concerns, because we need to motivate and justify our decisions. And I think that is reassuring, coming from the court, that we can also rely on new forms of evidence, provided that we remain principled, that we have a rule of law that is reliable and that provides some consistency. And I think that's the key takeaway of my speech.